Kano people trooped out en masse to show solidarity to the man they voted for, hoping for a favorable judgment at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not just the final court that election matters can be determined. It is also a policy court that gives direction to our policy going forward. And under certain circumstances, the court must also gauge public opinion if the issue at stake is not just a matter of law. As you are aware, the issue at stake in the Kano governorship election petition appeal before the Supreme Court justices is the 165,000 votes that the appeal court justices threw away just because INEC officials didn't stamp the ballots. Like many have said, it is not the fault of the electorate in an election that INEC officials failed to do their job. They failed to sign ballots or stamp them. So why should any reasonable court punish the electorate for something that is not their fault? If one goes to a polling booth on election day to vote, the person is accredited and given a ballot to go and thumbprint and cast his vote. So what is the electorate expected to do in this instance? To refuse to accept the unsigned ballot or to refuse to vote? It doesn't make any sense that a court will punish the electorate. So in this instance, the court must gauge the public opinion, and not just that, they must apply the law. They should hold the people that are responsible for not signing the ballots instead of punishing the electorate and the winner of the election. Now, coming to the protests in Kano, we all know how violent protests can be, not just in Kano, but the entire north. What happened in 2011 still comes to mind. So is that in any way going to affect the decision of the justices at the Supreme Court? Will they risk the aftermath, knowing that it is completely predictable what will happen if they uphold the decision of the appeal court? By the way, a Bauchi cleric is already threatening civil war if they fail to do the right thing. Besides, the appeal court judgment came with a lot of controversies. They issued 2 different copies of the certified true copies of the judgment, which they later claimed to be a mistake. But many have pointed out that such mistakes are practically impossible to make. Add that to the lack of confidence people have in the judiciary right now. With all the miscarriage of justice going on, they will decide one thing here, they will decide the contrary in another judgment. There's simply no consistency. Meanwhile, the law is consistent. So why is the interpretation of the law and judgment delivery always inconsistent? It will be interesting to see how the Supreme Court will decide, whether they will say, no, we don't want violence to come after we decide. Let's just uphold the votes of 165,000 people. Let there be peace. Or will they just ignore them and do whatever they like, that they will not be intimidated by any protest? After all, it will set a bad precedent that if you protest hard before any judgment is delivered, you might likely get that judgment in your favor. Anyway, however they choose to decide, they must own the aftermath. They must also understand the implication of their decision. It will mean that if millions tomorrow troop out en masse to vote for a candidate, and incidentally, all their ballots were not signed or stamped by INEC officials, that will mean that all their votes will be null and void. Thanks for watching.